Hello, welcome to Framed. Today we have Nicolle Peyrafitte. She's a performing artist, singer, writer. But I'm going to let Nicolle tell you a little bit more about herself because she gives a much better description than I do. Nicolle?
We have to take out writer. I'm not really a writer. I mean, I write some of the text, but I'm not a real writer.
No.
So you want me to...
Painter, you sing, you do performing.
I like to call it multimedia performance artist.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of. Because I almost never do the same thing, so...
That's really neat. I was just looking at some of Nicolle's video footage that we'll be showing you, and she's got these fabulous paintings in the background projected on the wall and doing an interactive performance in front of it with music that you wrote as well as you're singing, right?
Yeah, the past 2 years, this generation of work has been really that. There were handmade drawings that I would scan and then activate more than animate, because they're not slick animation. They're kind of clunky animation that are projected via the computer and a computer projector on stage. The bigger the better. Very often it's the whole background of the stage, and I would sing or recite text that were mine or sometimes other people, depending on the piece. And there would be live musicians or recorded soundtracks by musician or by collages of sounds that I would make. And sometimes I also cook on stage.
Oh,
cook a little something, yeah. So it depends.
You're cooking up excitement. That part I know for sure. What got you started in this? Have you always been an artist, or like what was kind of the path preceding what you're doing right now?
Well, yes, I think since I was a child, I was always an artist. You know, I was making things with what I found, collaging and things, and then I went into a more professional path. I was a cook. My family, I'm from the south of France. I've been in the restaurant business for 6th generation, hotel, restaurant in a resort town. So I did cooking for many years. And when I moved to America, I mostly did cooking. And 10 years ago, I devoted all my time to my artwork. Well, all my time is not true, because I did a little bit of cooking still in Albany. I used to teach some classes at Cafe Capriccio, some cooking classes.
Excellent restaurant.
Yeah, the excellent Cafe Capriccio cooking school. So, but preferably, I don't cook anymore. I have an ambivalent relationship with cooking. Well, I cook once in a while for the Homeless Action Committee, though. I can't get away from it, but the HAC, for the homeless home on Southborough.
Oh.
Yeah. So that I like to do. But fancy cooking, I don't like to do it anymore.
Okay. Neat.
So that's how I started.
Wow.
If that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. After looking over some other things in your background, you've been working or had exhibits in Norway and I think in Paris, and you've been
in Norway
quite
it was
busy.
not an exhibit. It was I was invited to be the keynote performer for a conference called DAC. It was DAC, Digital Art and Culture, and that's a place where there was a lot of hypertext writers that come and give papers and some multimedia performance. And we're going to go back this year. This year it's at Brown University with a local poet, Belle Gironda. We're doing a performance together, and that one's going to be called The Crepe. You know the crepe, the French pancake. So it's called The Crepe, The Theorist, The Chef, and The Volunteer. Okay. So that's going to be a multimedia performance on stage where cooking again is going to be involved. and Belle Gironda will be the theorist, I'll be the chef, and we'll grab a volunteer from the audience.
Wow.
And that's, the volunteer will have to cook by looking at what I do, but even though I will be just across the stage from that person, there will be a partition, and he will or she will see me only through a screen.
Oh, okay.
And I will be videoed, and the volunteer will be videoed, and we'll see each other only through a monitor,
Okay.
a monitor. And we've started rehearsing, and it's very bizarre to try to, because you always think it's a mirror when you look at a monitor.
Right.
But and Belle Gironda is writing incredible good text that kind of explore the reinscription of the body in cyberspace. So it's a very exciting piece. We hope to do a performance of it in Albany before presenting it at Brown University.
Oh, that would be neat.
Yeah.
How did your concept start? Does it start with the painting or with a flavor for what you're going to cook or a sound? Start with the audio? What's sort of your process when you're putting it together?
I mean, it really depends. I can't really tell. It's sometimes I want to understand something, or I just want to do something, or I want to study something, because I have very little formal education, none. So I get curious about something, and this piece about the crepe is because I'm getting more and more interested in theory, and I wanted to understand it, but at the same time I don't want to take it too seriously. So I like to play with things this way,
Now,
So
are you going to be making crepes?
Yeah.
That's what you're going to be cooking.
I'll be making them, and I'll have 3 or 4 burners, while the volunteer will have only 1. So one of the goal is to feed the audience, or part of the audience, or only the people that will have a queue. We don't know yet. It's still all in but the audience is going to be participating at some point, because I'm going to give error messages, like if the volunteer is really not getting it. Well, one very important thing is I can't serve the audience until the theorist has given her approval to the crepe. And she's going to give a critique. That might have nothing to do with the crepe itself, even though that I have to approve if that passes the test. But she's going to, she might say, because we have to feed the masses and we don't have enough crepes to feed the masses, even though so it's a kind of this complicated interaction that we want to try to bring in. But personally, I cook. I make those crepes really quickly, flip them, and if I see the volunteer is doing something wrong, I'm going to say, error message, number, blah, blah, blah. And maybe someone in the audience will have a lot of people will have a plate, and on the back of the plate, they will have to read the error message to give the correction to the volunteer. So it's kind of to bug this multimedia. Those people go to those conferences and they think of multimedia kind of the panacea. But the truth of the matter is, you cannot eat through a screen.
Right.
You cannot smell through a screen. So it's kind of, playing on people's senses. So it sounds really crazy like this, but because of the smell, but because of the taste, and there is a lot of emotions that come into play, and nobody knows who really is going to get one, who's going to be fed or not, So it's I don't know. We're having a lot of fun. I hope people will have to.
Now, will you have a projection behind you for this performance as well?
There will be. There will be a big screen behind us again that will videocast the volunteer, me, and also we'll have some images from different food things. I was in Barcelona recently, and I shot a lot of footage at the market there. I did at the meat market in New York, at the meat packers. Got a lot of footage there. So probably food. Belle Gironda's going to create some text, I think, also that we're going to have on the background.
On the back, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, in I think it's one of your earlier performances, the calendar.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that a bit, and what you were doing and how you came about with the drawing for the background? And
the calendar was actually the first piece that got me into performing live.
okay.
I had made drawings, I was doing only two-dimensional work, drawing collages, and I was about to have a show at the Berkshire Community College, and the woman said, "You'll have to come." Benina Chilla said, "Will you come and give a talk to?" I mean, that's kind of the routine. You have a show, and then you come and give a talk.
Oh, like, do they have a Q&A afterwards, too?
Something like this,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And I say, I don't really want to come and give a talk. I'll come and perform my drawings. Oh, she said, "Oh, that's interesting." And that's got me started.
That's how it starts. So you had the drawings first.
So I had the drawings, and the very first performance, they were just slides of the drawings.
Okay.
And I made the text, and I picked 12, I had 12 drawings left over. I said, well, I have 12 drawings. What can I do with them? And I said, well, 12, it's a calendar. There is 12 months. And then I started thinking about the calendar, and I said, oh, I want to do a little research about the calendar. What are the origins of the calendar? So I went back in the encyclopedia, went back to the Gregorian calendar, and when the calendar was only 10 months, and because it was not always 12 months, and the way February worked. And so from that, I went into reading Ovid Fastes, who wrote a lot about the ancient rituals, about the calendar. That's, all the pagan, throughout the calendar, there were festivities. So the first 6 months, not all of them, but most of those 6 months, I have drawn completely from the Ovid's calendar and wrote little kind of, let's say, haikus or little songs. Others are from, like, let's say, January was a poem by Pierre Joris. July is a poem of Paul Cézanne to Émile Zola in July of 1848. I'm having a blank now. I think it's 48. I'm not sure, but I think it's 48. So that was how I got to this one, and it's about swimming. So I paired things up like this, that made sense. And others have to do with some ritual chanting of the Pyrenees, and not ritual, more folkloric chanting of the Pyrenees that I kind of explored from a more feminine point of view, because all those in the Pyrenees, the singers are always the men.
Oh.
Never, the women never go and sing. So I use a lot of the men's songs, and I change the words around. They don't like it, but so that's the calendar basically.
And that's neat. And the way you're performing in front of it while the projection is in the back with the drawings, and that's all changing.
Yeah, and it's
then
3
you're
languages
moving
too.
over.
3, yeah. Some songs are in Spanish. Like one is one of the abstract of Frida Kahlo. So Spanish, English, Latin. Some it's actually, I took a ritual from Ovid. It's in Latin.
Wow, that's really neat. Yeah, it looks really interesting. It looked like that was you. Now, what was the piece you did after that? The one you did at Steamer 10?
At Steamer, when I did this performance at Steamer 10, we performed. That was, by the way, they need to get credit for this because they were really wonderful support and musician. Ben Shadaby was playing drums. Benjamin Shadaby was playing drums, and Ann Githler was playing everything else. I mean, that's why you're here on the tape. I did a song. I did the Volva song of Inanna, which is an incantation from Sumerian text, very old Sumerian, 6000 BC, something like this.
Wow.
A beautiful erotic song. So I did that. Then the calendar, and then another piece that at that point was just 15 minutes piece called Ride the Line. That's now, it's expanding a lot. Because this piece has to do with my hometown in the Pyrenees and Albany being on the same latitude. So, I mean, I don't know how much you want to get into that one, because, I mean, there's a lot of, I can do a lot of talking, but...
Yeah, I think it'd be
one.
great to hear about, because when you first mentioned that to me about it being in the same latitude, I remember reading a review that you sent me in French. I think it said about Albany being 42nd degree latitude or something, and I was like, oh, I wonder what that's about. And then you were telling me it's what, 38 degrees?
Yeah, no,
or
Albany
39?
is, I want to give you the exact measurement. Albany is 42, I want to tell you exactly. 42, 38, my house here.
Okay.
The city hall is a little further, but it's close. 42, 38 here, and my house in the Pyrenees is 42, 47. That is only 9 miles apart.
That's really incredible.
Yeah. So
That's so incredible. So that helped you develop the whole idea for the piece Ride the Line.
well, it was more than it was. When I found out, it was, I was really struck. And all of a sudden, you know, I felt, I really saw a line, you know, I saw a line drawing in front of myself. It's like, wow, I'm on a line here. Because, you know, when you put it on the globe, I mean, it's really a line. You know, what is 9 miles when you put it on a map, you know, or even on a big map? So, you know, I felt globally positioned, you know. You know, all of a sudden I said, oh, all right, that's why I needed to come here in Albany. And it had a, I never knew why I liked Albany. You know, I moved here because my partner had a job at SUNY, and I was pregnant. He said, oh, I got a job at SUNY. I said, well, I guess I'm going to come. We were in California. We lived in California.
Okay.
So I had never lived in the East Coast. I knew nothing about the East Coast. And we moved here. So, you know, we're in San Diego, so it's a little bit different. I had no idea. And it turned out, you know, I was always amazed how I liked the people here. And there was definitely a level of interaction with the people that I felt tremendously more comfortable than California. In California, I could never really be, I mean, people here are friendly. I mean, you can build up friendship. California was very difficult. So anyway, when I realized about this line, it's kind of, wow, I mean, that's really, it was, I mean, it was, bim, okay, you know what I mean? I said, well, I was right here, I'm right here, and then, as I say, you know, when I give, because I have a part that's very performative that you'll see on the tape, and there's a part before that you won't see, where I give a little more theoretical text about that this line actually allowed me to gather some free-floating affects that, you know, that had been gathering for very, very long, you know, I mean, like feelings. I mean, especially when you move, it happens to everybody, but I think that when you move from a continent to another one, you leave a lot of your cultural
behind. It's not
yeah,
like
so this line to me was incredibly important because it allowed me to kind of, you know, everything came and went to clutter on it. You know, I mean, not cluttering, but came to stick. It was like almost, you know,
to sort of like bond you, like kind of like bond you.
Yeah,
with your
or
culture.
an imam. What is the sentence I use exactly? Actually, when I said magnetized to some extent. You know, magnetized, but keeping their pulse though. You know, it's not like. It was like, oh wow, everything was kind of gathered up. You know, I felt very good about. I was gathering myself, you know. I had not been so silly or crazy, you know, running around the world. It was, wow, this makes sense.
Wow.
You know, so it was incredibly powerful.
Wow.
So now I want to do more with this piece and actually do inside exploration, like I gave a performance at the Wayne State University in Detroit, and I realized, because everywhere I go, I always check with the latitude now. I'm a little obsessed. And I
You'll
realized
be making charts in your house now. I can see it.
This is 9 miles over, when it was kind of 9 or 10 miles away from my line.
Oh, no. Where you went
in
to
Detroit.
do the performance.
Yeah,
Okay.
Detroit. I said, well, that's interesting. So the next day, someone, got excited about the project, took me around, and we went to find the line, and we documented that. And so I'm doing more insight, and then I'll see what will happen. I'm kind of trying to find what is then my relationship to this place, and a little bit of the historical background of the space, maybe. So I have not fully developed Albany yet. I'm kind of saving it. I'm hoping for some grants or things like it to come through to be able to turn it into an hour and 15 minutes performance.
Because the piece that I saw that we're going to be looking at in the video, you had a lot of like computer transitions and everything in there. Were they digital still images, and then you have an editing program, or how are you putting that together?
For Ride the Lines, there is two parts. There is a part that the opening part now that has maps that are either scanned maps, either maps directly drawn from the internet, some of my paintings or notes from my notebooks. I use a lot of the notes from my notebooks. So that's put into that program, and then it's processed. That's a simple program that allowed me transitions. It's like a electronic slide.
Oh, okay.
Program.
So it's not a video editing program.
No,
it's
not that
something
one.
to do with the slide.
Yeah, it's like PowerPoint type thing.
And that has all those transition points.
So
in it.
that's this piece. Unfortunately, you won't see it as centered as it is, because when it works when I transferred it from the computer into the television, it was not exactly. It lost the ratio. Yeah. Even though I changed it, but it can't be exactly the same. But then the second part of that, the performing of the emotional to some extent, which is really what was called Ride the Line. The whole project now, it's called Latus, which means latitude in Latin. The emotional performing part, which is called Ride the Line, those are 11 drawings that I had made, and those have been scanned, and the same way it was made, the same way the calendar was made.
Oh, so scanned drawings. Now, you said your drawings are usually small?
Those are regular a page.
Like 8 by 10 sort of size?
I think so, yeah. Those are the size, yeah.
So you drew it that size, scanned it,
Yeah.
and then you projected it up.
Yeah, well, I scanned them and put them through a series of programs, because I have to cut them, clean them, activated them. And then put a little projector, and then they projected on the big screen when I
Now,
perform.
in Ride the Line, where you had the red line that was coming down and then leaving different text, what was that about? What was happening there?
The text are really those free-floating affects I was talking about before. When I was making those drawings, I mean, before thinking of performing and all that, when I realized about the line, I mean, now there is this whole story, but at first, when I just realized and I had this feeling, that's when I had started working on those drawings. And the slow writing came, and it was kind of a voice, like sometimes you have awake daydreaming, but I decided to write anything that would come through my mind, and it's sometimes in French, sometimes it's English. It can be a little bit in Spanish, because I have a lot of Spanish influence. I'm from the south of France. So, I mean, those would come. I mean, like, it could be, I have to remember to go to the television tomorrow. but whatever. But that then, because of the quality of the drawing, it was actually not that simple as that. Because of the quality of the drawing, I was almost putting myself through a state. I was, it's those drawings. I mean, when I look at them now, they're kind of sad. They have a lot of bones. They have a lot of skeletons, birds that are doing bizarre things, you know.
Now the one looks kind of almost some type of an anatomical drawing,
Yeah.
and then it's got the cherries. Are they
That's a
cherry?
kind of skeleton with a, no, that's on the calendar.
Oh, okay, that was on the
That's
calendar.
on the calendar.
That one.
Those are colored collage. The other one are just black and white with sometimes a little bit of red, and actually one has a little bit of
Okay.
color.
Has a little bit of color in it. Wow. And one thing, when you and I were looking at them together, you mentioned that you like it when the projection's kind of full size and you're really getting to interact with the drawing.
Yeah. Yeah, so I can, I mean, what I like the best is actually when it's a very informal stage with a huge projection and I can, you know, walk around, come back and get the projection of the screen and really get into the piece. And
So that you're singing or doing something that's totally related to that
Yeah.
drawing and just kind of like working.
yeah, I talk to the drawing. I mean, there is, and I am in the drawing. I mean, there is, I have a little persona that I see as me. I mean, there is a black woman that jumps around, and you know, I like to think is me.
It's great.
That's
I think it's
around. So
really
I, you know, I talk to, and she's always very little, even though when I, you know, so there's this kind of size relationship with. It's a little bit like being in a dream, you know, and revisiting your dream.
I just think it's so exciting looking at it. I haven't met other performing artists. Actually, I have one good friend who's done different performing art. I think he's just more as an installation kind of a thing. But I'm wondering, how unique is it what you're doing? How does your work stand apart from maybe another performing artist? Maybe that everything you're doing, pretty much you've created the different aspects of it,
well,
right?
the thing now, there is a lot of people doing a lot of different things out there, and I like to work at all the levels. I mean, I still like to do the drawings and the paintings. I work at the voice, I work at the text, and I work at the electronics. Now it's very, very time consuming. But I kind of like doing it this way. So I can, you know, travel.
Yeah, and you're creating the whole entire experience too. Is it correct that other performing artists, many of them may have a partner or someone else maybe that contributed different parts of the creative process?
Yeah, but as I said, there is mostly what I've seen this way, even though there is the woman in Albany, Elise Kermany, she's in Troy.
Oh, yeah, she lives
doing-
right here in Delmar, actually, and she works in Troy. Okay.
She does fairly similar, she creates visuals and music. She's a composer too, and that the time I saw her in New York, she had other people, a dancer performing. That was close to what I do, and that's, you know, I really like her work. But I am not enough in New York City or going around. Maybe there is other people doing it. I don't know. I mean, unique is I don't like to use because it gets a lot of attention. That's true. When it gets somewhere, you know, it gets attention because of the mix.
Well, I know Elise as a composer, so it's interesting that she's doing the performing too. I didn't realize that. She does the music for the show we've been running, the Darren Freshwater Institute. That's all her music on that program. So, well, we've run out of time. There's our bell letting us know. And Nicolle set that up really well for us. So, Nicolle, it was so great getting to see your performances and hearing about something that was so different for me. And I hope that everyone out there enjoys it and gets to see Nicolle with her artwork. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much.